Hey gang, what's up? Welcome back here to another edition of the Fishing Teacher, and thanks for checking today's video out, much appreciated. And today guys, we're going to be continue our series about going over baits. We're going to be talking about the Rapala Mag 18, which is a large jerkbait. It's like a 7.5-inch jerkbait. Give you guys some tips and advice on when to fish that. And one of the things I wanted to do here on the channel, since we're, the channel is geared for guys, starting out learning about fishing, is I want to try to make everybody familiar with all the different bait categories out there, because there's a lot of baits out there. It's intimidating. There's so many of them out there. So I'm going to try to go through a lot of them and sort of give you guys some applications on when to use them and sort of take some of that intimidation factor away from it. Okay guys, here's the Rapala Mag 18 minnow. This is an old bait, guys. These things have been around forever. And the thing, I think a lot of people are familiar with Rapala minnow. It's been catching fish forever, but very few people use the big giant size like this. Here's a Megabass Vision 110 right here. This bait right here is about 5 inches long, so you can see how much larger this is. This is a Magnum large jerkbait here. This is a real specific situation lure that you want to use here. There's really two different scenarios where this thing works really good for big fish. It catches a lot of big fish. It catches stripers, it catches walleye, it catches bass, muskie, northern pike, depending upon where you're at. But it's a springtime lure. When I'm talking about a springtime lure, it's geared for when those water temperatures are between like 50 and 65 degrees. So the most part you're talking about sort of that the March through late May period. We're sort of what we're in right now. This is when this bait works really good, because in the springtime of year, the shad in most lakes, the bait fish, are larger than they are all year long, because the shad haven't spawned yet. A lot of the shad that are in the lakes now are almost a year old, and they're fairly large, so that's why this thing works really good. But the situations you work it in, it's a jerkbait, and you fish it like a jerkbait, except you work it a lot more aggressively. Since this thing floats pretty fast up there, a lot of times what I do is I'll put some lead suspend strips on it, or wrap some lead around the hook, because I don't want it to come up real quick. I like it to suspend or just barely come up. But the way that I fish this, and the way that I've caught a ton of good ones on it, is I'll throw it out there and I'll jerk it down, 5 or 10 times, and then I pop it real hard, most jerk baits, you're popping it, twitching it like that. But with the Rapala, I'm actually bringing my arm up, and I'm trying to get this bait. When I jerk it, I want it to move 2 or 3 feet at one time. I don't want it to move just like darting back and forth like that. I want it to go boom, just like that. And that combination of that real hard, aggressive jerking action will catch those big fish out there. Now, there's a couple different scenarios that you have to have for this to work. It's a combination of the right type of day as far as the light intensity, the water clarity, and the wind. Number one is you need some type of clouds. You need at least a heavy, partly cloudy situation. I prefer a cloudy situation. That's number one. Very important. Number two is you need a south wind or a southwest wind. If you've got a north wind or east wind or west wind, for whatever reason, they just won't bite it very good. So you need some type of a southerly airflow. And you need a situation where it's the temperature, as far as the air temperature, is at least normal or above normal. And you need a fairly stiff wind, like a wind of at least 10 miles an hour. Now, when you have that combination, and water clarity, and you need water visibility of, say, 3 to 5 feet in that range, you need at least 3 foot clarity, about like that. So when you have the combination of the 3 to 5 foot clarity, cloudy conditions, windy, south wind, a little bit warm, it triggers those fish, and it puts them in a mood and a personality that they go for these big, fast moving, aggressive baits like this. Now, I've had a lot of situations, guys, where like one day I'll have a situation like that and I catch them really good on it, and then the next day maybe I lose my wind, or it gets sunny out, or the wind turns from blowing out of the north, and they won't touch it. But when you get that combination that I just described to you guys, get you a couple of these Rapala Mag 18 minnows, put them on anywhere between 12 to 15 pound test fluorocarbon line. I usually use it on like a fairly stiff at least a 7 foot rod, 7.5 foot rod, and just jerk the heck out of that, guys, and just give it a try. Key on it around main lake points, secondary points, bluff banks, all that type of stuff's really good over grass beds if you have grass, and it will catch you some big fish. I can promise you. It doesn't get fished very much. So hope it helps out, guys. We'll talk later.